Well, yep, here we go. As promised, I've got another video for you. How this came about, when I was contacted by the people that were looking at the Vanishing Trail. I seem to be on their mailing list of all new notifications, and this one came my way, and I knew nothing of Laura's involvement in it. And then as I started to read the article, I kept thinking, I know who's involved in that particular organization. I wonder if Stephen Trizon or Laura Nirider's name will come up. And sure enough, Laura's did. So have a look at this this particular case. As you can see, I'm back in my studio now, which funny enough, I remember once a guilty saying it looks like I'm in a cupboard under the stairs. Well, if you want to compare me with Harry Potter, that's fine by me. He's a bit of a wizard, so you know, I take that as a real compliment that I'm under the stairs. But no, in actual fact, it's just the corner of the room where the stairs go up. So no, I'm not in a cupboard. I'm back in my own room. Anyway, let's crack on with the article, which I say is quite an interesting read. Let's have a look and see what we're dealing with. Let's just make sure everything is working as it should do. Yep, absolutely fine. Okie dokie. So here we go. Legal experts review Black Minnesota teen's life sentence. That yes, this is exactly how things should work. Although there shouldn't be this problem in the first place, but there is this problem in the first place. It's how you deal with that problem. You know, what should happen. So this is by Robin McDowell, July 14th, 2020. So just 3 days ago. And here we have a picture of well, let's read what it says. It says Minneapolis Associated Press. So let's see if we can just make that a little bit bigger. A bit more. Yes, I think that'll do fine. Let's go with that then. Minneapolis Associated Press, an independent panel of national legal experts will review the conviction of an American man sentenced as a teenager to life in prison for the murder of a little girl struck by a stray bullet. Northwestern University's Center of Wrongful Convictions and the New York-based Innocence Project announced Monday. So literally at the start of the week. Mayon Burrell, 34, has spent nearly 2 decades behind bars. His case captured widespread interest, first at the time of his 2002 arrest, and again this year after Senator Amy Klobuchar touted it during her run for the US presidency. She used it as an example of how, when top prosecutor in Hennepin County, she helped find justice for the African American community outraged by gun violence and the senseless death of Taisha Edwards, an 11-year-old girl killed while doing homework at her dining room table. After the Associated Press and the APM reports highlighted flaws in the investigation that pointed to a possible wrongful conviction, Klobuchar, I have no idea how you pronounce her name, Klobuchar. Let's go with Klobuchar. Called for a review, saying justice was not only about punishing the guilty but protecting the innocent. She and the Hennepin County Attorney's Office expressed support Monday for the new panel, which hopes to release its findings by the year's end. The senator has also said she would like to see the formation of a conviction integrity unit and a sentencing review board to look into other potentially flawed cases. Barry Scheck, I think I've heard of him, co-founder of the Innocence Project and one of the first proponents for conviction integrity units nationwide, called the review of Bowles' case an important first step. He and Laura Nirider, the one and only, co-director of the Center on Wrongful Convictions, we've certainly heard of her and like her very much, who led efforts to identify and select prospective panel members, no less, wow, will act as advisors as the team looks at the evidence that led to Bowles' conviction and the appropriateness of his sentence. Okay. A conviction integrity review is a non-adversarial process that seeks cooperation from prosecutors, defenders and police, said Scheck, who is an expert in best practices. We've just been talking about best practices not being on Hamilton's shopping list. Who is an expert in best practices in conviction integrity and will help guide the panel. Best practices today include consideration of excessive sentences as well as a review of guilt or innocence and the fairness of the trial. In the end, conviction integrity units often ask the question after reviewing all the evidence: if we had known all of this at the time we charged the defendant, would we have arrested him in the first place? No, this is interesting. Laura Nirider, a Minnesota native who represents innocent juveniles and those widely considered to be wrongfully convicted, including somebody called Brendan Dassey, subject of the Netflix series Making a Murderer, I must check that out sometime, said the panel is filled with some of the country's top legal minds, including a former state attorney general, an attorney general of the state, the leader of one of the first conviction integrity units in the country, and the past president of the National Innocence Network. Laura carried on. The effort, she said, was undertaken with the support of several Minnesota organizations, including the Minneapolis NAACP, the Innocence Project of Minnesota, and the ACLU of Minnesota, and panel members. The gross miscarriage of justice that happened in Mayan Bowles' case struck a chord with many in the Black community, said Leslie Redmond, president of the Minneapolis NAACP, adding that an independent review of his case is long overdue. We always know that Mayan is one of many young Black men who has been railroaded by the criminal. I'm not going to say that word. I might add before it, injustice system, or let's just call it by the criminal legal system in Hennepin County. There is an urgent need for the establishment of a conviction integrity unit to review those cases now. The death of George Floyd, who was killed by police in May at a South Minneapolis corner store just 3 blocks from where Taisha was shot, has put a spotlight on Minnesota and its long history of racial injustice. Many members of the state's African American community feel the system is stacked against them from the time of their arrest and charges filed to the length of their sentences. The 1990s and 2000s resulted in the highest rate of incarceration ever seen in America, and young Black men were disproportionately affected. a largely discredited theory about remorseless teen criminals dubbed super predators resulted in a tripling of the number of youths thrown into adult facilities, thousands of them sentenced to life. The vast majority were African American. While that trend has started to reverse, those already convicted remain in prison where many will likely die. Perry Moriarty, an associate professor at the University of Minnesota Law School, said the state has long prided itself on having a progressive penal system, but that is not true when it comes to the punishment of young African American males. Black juveniles in Minnesota are 8 times more likely to be prosecuted as adults than white juveniles, and we subject them to extraordinarily harsh sentences, she said. Even as states across the country are abandoning life sentences for adolescents, we continue to permit life without parole or its equivalent. We are on our way to becoming an outlier. Now then, Burrell, who was 16 at the time of Taisha's killing, has steadfastly proclaimed his innocence, saying he was not even at the scene. A year-long Associated Press investigation found that there was no hard evidence, no gun, fingerprints, DNA linking him to the crime. Surveillance tape that Burrell told police would clear him was never pulled from the Cup Food, the same store that called the police in George Floyd for illegally trying to pass a counterfeit $20 bill. My goodness. You get that? Surveillance tape that Burrell told police would clear him was never obtained from the same store that called the police on George Floyd. Much of the state's case relied on jailhouse informants, several of whom have since recanted, and another man has admitted to the shooting, saying Burrell was not even present. Reminds us of Devontae Sanford, doesn't it, dude? The Hennepin County Attorney's Office said in a statement Monday, it has been cooperating with Burrell's current attorney for nearly 2 years and will continue to be responsive to the panel's advisors. The governor with a strange name, what did we decide on? Klobuchar? Yeah, could be that. Klobuchar? Yeah. Meanwhile, she has been advocating for a review for months. As I told Mr. Burrell's family earlier this year, if any injustice was done in the quest for justice for Taisha Edwards, it must be addressed, he said in an emailed statement. This investigation is an important step forward, and I fully support the work of this distinguished panel. Okie dokie. There we go. That's so I thought that was quite an interesting little read about Laura being, obviously very highly thought of by us, but also by other people, and being asked to assist in selecting a panel to look into this case to form a conviction integrity unit. So anyway, that's me done for today. We'll catch you all again soon. No doubt, got some more things to do. Tuesday, I've got another chat with Shetland accordionist Peter Wood, and we've got a special guest lined up for that. And then I think I've got Tuesday evenings lined up for the next 4 weeks with various people coming on and having a chat with me. So we'll share a little bit of news about, history, news, whatever, about the music scene here in Scotland, and possibly a bit about Northumberland as well, and as far north as Shetland. So anyway, we'll catch you all again soon. Thanks for tuning in. I think I should leave the link to the article in the description below, so that's probably what I'll do. Okay, catch you again soon. Bye for now.